Ashes of war. The stars burned too brightly for a man like Nasir Vek. He watched them flicker from the cracked canopy of his ship. The scythe, a once proud interceptor, now held together with spit, rust, and regret. Smoke choked the cockpit, and alarms screamed across the dash, but he silenced them with a weary tap. The chaos of fleeing another war zone had numbed him. Another battle, another escape, another name crossed off a list of the dead. The Velker expanse smoldered behind him, its scattered moons littered with the wreckage of ships from 3 warring factions. None of it mattered anymore. Alliances shifted daily. Friends became enemies overnight. Entire colonies vanished beneath orbital fire. Nasir had seen it all. No medals, no parades. Just ghosts. And silence. He leaned back in his seat, eyes closed, trying to summon the face of his younger brother, killed during the fall of Nova Vega. He couldn't. The war had stolen even his memories. Then, through the static, something new, a ping, faint, ancient, almost hesitant. Nasir frowned and leaned forward. Ziva, he called, voice hoarse, filter that signal. His AI crackled to life with a sulky tone. Its ancient Terran code, Captain, Pre-Federation, source unknown. Static turned to a voice, female, soft but urgent. To the lost and willing, the eye of Oranis awaits. Hidden in shadow, forged in light. A gift or a curse? Lazari Prime remembers. Then came the coordinates. Buried deep in uncharted space, past dead suns and magnetic rifts. Nasir stared at the blinking data on the screen. Lazari Prime? That's a quarantine world. A myth, Ziva replied. Supposedly cursed. Off limits since the Athari collapse. Athari, a long-dead civilization. He'd read about them in old Navy briefings. Builders of impossible machines. This appeared without a trace. He felt something stir in his chest. A whisper of adrenaline. Not fear. Hope. Oranis. The artifact had been legend even during the old wars. Rumors of a power that could rewire planets, bend time, even undo loss. Most dismissed it as myth. But Nasir had nothing left to lose. He punched in the coordinates. The scythe groaned in protest. Ziva, plot a route, and send a tight band burst. Encrypted. We'll need a crew. Nasir, the AI said gently, you've been running from ghosts for years. Why now? He hesitated. Images flooded back. Charred ruins, the screams of civilians, his own hands stained with actions he couldn't undo. Because maybe there's still something left to run toward, he said. 12 hours later, Nasir sat at a grimy cantina on Drelker Station, a half-dead mining hub riddled with mercenaries and war deserters. The station reeked of oil, blood, and lies. Perfect recruiting ground. He found her at the bar, Nomi Drayan, ex-union engineer, buried in a bottle of jet fuel whiskey. Her cybernetic arm twitched with withdrawal tremors. You used to run repair crews on Titan's belt, he said. She looked up with bloodshot eyes. Used to. Now I mostly run from bounty collectors. He slid a data chip across the bar. It held the Oranis signal. Nomi's eyes narrowed. Is this real? Does it matter? Nasir asked. You want money or meaning? She downed her drink and grabbed her tool belt. Both. In a shadowed corner, Yasik watched with silver-flecked eyes, silent. The alien had once served in a scout division before the war shattered his homeworld. He spoke rarely, but his visions of places and futures had saved Nasir more than once. As Nasir approached, Yasik simply nodded once. He had seen this journey. That was enough. Back aboard the scythe, Nasir stared at the crew, 2 broken lives plus 1 enigma, and wondered if this was madness. Ziva's voice returned. Incoming encrypted transmission. You're not the only one tracking that signal. Ooh. A face appeared on the cracked display. Gaunt. Scarred. Metal grafted to flesh. Cold eyes that never blinked. Varkos Dren. Nasir's stomach twisted. I heard the ghost chime too, Varkos said, voice like dry metal. You'll find the eye, Nasir. But I'll be waiting. You took everything from me once. Let's see what I take from you this time. The transmission cut. Nomi looked at Nasir. Friend of yours? No, he said jaw tight. A mistake I never outran. As the stars warped and bent around the scythe, Nasir gripped the console. A forbidden world awaited. An ancient artifact. A promise. But deep down, in the dark places war had carved inside him, Nasir wasn't chasing power. He was chasing a reason to believe again. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Peopl. Lazari Prime was a wound in space. Its surface churned with electromagnetic storms, laced with clouds that glowed like bruises. Lightning twisted across the atmosphere in unnatural arcs, and below, black mountain ranges coiled like serpents across a dying world. Nasir stood at the helm, jaw clenched as the scythe descended into the chaos. The ship rattled, every warning system screaming. "We lose altitude and shielding in 30 seconds, Ziva's voice crackled. "Structural limits are redlining." "Push it," Nasir ordered. "Get us through the clouds. We need to find shelter before the hull peels." Behind him, Nomi gritted her teeth. "This storm's tearing my systems apart. I can't even tell what's manual anymore." In the corner, Yasik crouched with his fingers pressed to the deck. His alien skin shimmered faintly, sensing something in the storm Nasir couldn't see, or didn't want to. The ship broke through a wall of violet static. Below, a ravine of obsidian rock and jagged towers, unnatural like fossilized bones. A landing zone barely wide enough for a single craft. "Hold on," Nasir barked. The side slammed down, skidding through ash and dust. Silence fell. Systems sputtered, then failed. The crew sat in the dark for several heartbeats. "We're alive," Nomi whispered. "Not by much," Ziva muttered from backup power. "Long-range comms are fried. We're alone." Outside, the air was thin and electric. Strange spine plants grew out of rock crevices, pulsing faintly like they were breathing. Yasik walked ahead, silent, eyes half closed. Nasir followed, boots crunching across dead soil. Nomi scanned the area with a handheld scanner, occasionally smacking it when it glitched. They moved through towering pillars, clearly not natural. Markings ran along the stone in spirals and jagged glyphs. Athery ruins. The stories had been true. The wind moaned through the structures like a voice trying to remember how to scream. Nasir stopped at a statue, 8 feet tall, humanoid but alien, with elongated limbs and a crystal embedded in its forehead. "What do you see?" Nomi asked. He reached out and touched the glyphs along its base. "They fought something," he murmured. "Something huge." "Yeah," Nomi said, scanning the area. "These readings are insane. There's still power in this place. Energy signatures like nothing I've seen." Yasik let out a low hiss. He crouched by the ground and began drawing in the dust, symbols almost like stars. Then came the sound, grinding stone, shifting gears. Nasir whipped around. Figures emerged from behind the monoliths, humanoid, armored but not alive. Dull metallic drones, half-rusted but armed. Their eyes lit with a crimson glow. "Move!" Nasir shouted. Weapons fire erupted. The team scattered behind pillars as pulse bolts shattered stone. "These things have been waiting," Nomi shouted, firing a repurposed plasma cutter. "We triggered something," Nasir said. "We're not supposed to be here." Yasik moved like a shadow, flanking 2 sentinels and slicing through their legs with a vibroblade. But one of the drones pivoted, firing point-blank. Yasik cried out, hit in the side. He fell behind cover, twitching in pain. Nasir snapped. He leapt from behind a column and charged. A direct hit with his pulse rifle shattered the drone's head, and the last enemy collapsed. The silence after was heavy. Nasir knelt beside Yasik. "Stay with me." The alien nodded weakly, pressing a palm to his side. Blood dark as ink stained the ground. Nomi joined them, panting. "We're not alone here. Someone activated these things." Nasir helped Yasik up. "We have to move." A voice echoed through the ravine. "Still jumping headfirst into things, Nasir." The team froze. From the shadows stepped Liramon. Elegant, sharp-eyed, draped in a tattered black cloak. Once a noble intelligence operative, now rogue and far from home. Nasir's mouth tightened. "Didn't expect to find you out here." "I followed the same signal," she said coolly. "But I wasn't the only one." Her words came too late. Shots rang out. Varkosa's mercenaries burst from the opposite ridge. Black armor, modded rifles, no hesitation. Chaos erupted again. Run, Nasir ordered. We're boxed in. Lyra tossed a smoke grenade. Nasir grabbed Yasik, and they ducked into a collapsed tunnel, narrow, dark, and ancient. They ran until the light faded behind them. Minutes or hours later, they rested in a hollow chamber beneath the surface. Yasik lay still, breathing shallow. Nomi patched where she could. Lyra watched Nasir silently. You really think this treasure's worth all this death? Nasir stared into the dark. It's not the treasure. Then what? It's the chance that something still matters. That we can choose something better. She didn't reply, but for the first time her eyes softened. Above them, the storm raged, and deeper below, something stirred. Beneath the stone, the tunnel swallowed sound. As the team descended into Lazari Prime's underworld, the atmosphere thickened, pulsing with latent energy. Every step echoed strangely, like the very rock remembered voices long gone. Bioluminescent moss clung to the walls, casting a sickly blue glow that deepened the shadows. Nasir kept his pulse pistol drawn. One hand stayed close to Yasik, who leaned against him weakly. His injury had stabilized, but his color had faded to a dim gray. We should rest, Nomi whispered. No, Nasir said. If we stop, they'll catch us. Lyra led them now, moving with quiet certainty. I know this architecture. Athri catacombs. Not meant to be navigated. Meant to confuse. To keep people in. She turned sharply, pushing open a panel on the wall. It revealed a chamber that didn't belong. Smooth metal walls, etched with fractal patterns that shimmered like water when touched. They stepped inside. The door closed behind them soundlessly. In the center hovered a sphere the size of a human head, rotating slowly, suspended in a field of invisible force. Athri writing encircled it, alive with golden light. The first marker, Lyra said. This is what the signal led me to. It's a key, or a map, or both. Nomi approached with reverence. This tech is impossible. We don't even have the vocabulary to describe it. Nasir watched the sphere, unease in his gut. Yasik, barely conscious, stirred. It remembers, he whispered. The room flickered. A sudden wave of light washed over them, and the chamber transformed. Images erupted into being, holograms from another age. Cities of crystal rising into twin suns. Beings of light and metal moving in peace. Then darkness. Fire. The beast. A shape not fully seen, only hinted at. Vast. Hungering. It consumed the Athri planet by planet. Not a creature, but a force of extinction. And beneath it, the twisted silhouettes of species enslaved, tall, elegant forms chained in sorrow. Then the holograms vanished. Silence returned. The legends were true, Nomi whispered. The Eye of Aranis wasn't just a weapon. It was a failsafe. To stop the beast, Lyra added, voice trembling. Nasir looked to Yasik. Is it still here? Yasik nodded slowly. Sleeping. Beneath. They stood in the dark, each person alone in thought. Then we're not just treasure hunters, Nasir said. We're walking into a cage. Hours later, they made camp in a hollowed-out maintenance passage deep beneath the ruins. Nasir sat with Nomi, watching her adjust Yasik's autosplint. He's fading, she murmured. That shot damaged more than bone. I know. She looked at him, eyes tired. Why do you keep doing this? What? Saving everyone else but yourself. He didn't answer for a moment. Then, because I didn't save them. My brother. My squad. I failed when it mattered most. Nomi paused. You didn't start this war, Nasir. No, but I ran from it. And from who I became in it. Silence. Only Yasik's shallow breathing. You're not that man anymore, she said. Maybe. But I still see his reflection when I close my eyes. Their rest was cut short by distant echoes. Footsteps. Voices. Varkos was close. They moved again, quiet, swift, deeper into the structure. The walls grew stranger, the architecture increasingly alien. Doors opened to touch, then sealed behind them. The catacombs shifted like a living maze. Eventually, They came upon a vaulted hall. Chains hung from the ceiling, massive and ancient. Beneath them, pods lined the floor, hundreds, maybe thousands. Inside each, a being lay still. Lithe forms with long hair, silver skin, eyes closed in unnatural sleep. The enslaved race. They've been here for millennia, Lyra said, breathless. Put into stasis, maybe to keep them from a beast. Or to power it. Nomi checked a panel. These aren't cryopods. It's something else. A psychic tether. Like their dreams are being harvested. Yasik staggered forward, his hand brushing one of the pods. The being inside flinched. Eyes opened. Nasir rushed forward, catching Yasik as he collapsed. What did you see? He asked. Yasik whispered, eyes unfocused. A prison and a promise. If we free them, they will show us the path. To Aranis. To the truth. Lyra looked grim. And if we don't, they will die in the dark, Yasik said. And so will we. The moment crackled with weight. Nasir stood, looking at the long-dead technology, the sleeping people, the keys to something far greater than power. This wasn't a hunt anymore. It was a rescue. A choice. Then we free them, Nasir said. No matter what comes. Above them, something stirred. And in the deep, ancient things began to wake. The price of freedom. The hall was breathing. At least, that's how it felt to Nasir. Each second thicker with pressure, each heartbeat echoing off the ancient stone like a warning. The stasis chamber pulsed in low intervals of light, like the planet itself was syncing with the sleeping race entombed here. We're standing in a live system, Nomi said, voice hushed. Every one of these pods is wired into the planet's core. If we pull the wrong switch, we risk triggering a fail-safe, Lyra finished, scanning the control terminals. If the Athari feared the beast would return, they'd make sure no one could use these beings, not even help them. Nasir looked out over the sea of slumbering figures. So many lives, frozen in time, unknowingly trapped as collateral in a forgotten war. Their faces were calm, but not peaceful, not free. He clenched his jaw. We don't leave them. Yasik stood slowly, leaning on his staff. Though still weak, his eyes burned with certainty. They remember in fragments. Dreams of fire, of captivity, of hope. Nasir nodded. Then we give them the last part. The main console was a relic, half metal, half crystal, etched with language no human knew. But Lyra's implants lit up faintly, and Nomi worked quickly to patch in. Holographic symbols floated above them, flickering with each line of decoding. The system's locked with a trinary code, Nomi said. 3 keys, 3 layers. Physical, mental, and emotional resonance. Emotional, Nasir repeated. These people were psychically linked, Lyra explained. Whoever frees them has to prove they're not another tyrant. The system reads intent. Nasir stepped forward. Then I'll do it. Nomi looked up sharply. If your emotional state's unstable. It is, he admitted, but it's honest. Lyra gave a subtle nod. That may be what the Athari designed this for. Nasir placed his hand on the central interface. The world dimmed. The system reached into him. Not just his memories, but his truth. Faces flashed before his eyes. His brother, burning cities, the moment he let go of a civilian ship to save his own crew. And then a quiet, a memory of holding his brother's pendant in his hand, of making a silent vow. I won't let this all mean nothing. A pulse. The first lock disengaged. The room shook. First key accepted, Nomi said, barely believing it. We're in the second layer. Yasik stepped up next. Without being asked, he pressed his palm against the second pad. The reaction was immediate. The room sang. Not with sound, but memory. Images swirled through the chamber. His destroyed homeworld, the brutal experiments he endured, the shame of surviving when so many didn't. But he held firm. Second lock, disengaged. The lights grew brighter. The pod stirred. Then the third system activated. And the beast awoke. A seismic ripple split the chamber. Dust fell from the high ceilings. A roar, not from lungs but from deep within the stone, howled across the tunnels. What do we just trigger? Nasir asked. Nomi's hands flew over the interface. It's not just the pods. There's something buried under this entire structure. Lyra paled. A containment vault. The Athari didn't just trap the enslaved. They trapped the beast. Beneath them, they used the species as a lock. Another tremor. A pod shattered. One of the stasis-bound beings emerged. Tall, ethereal, with silver eyes glowing like moons. She gasped, falling to her knees. Nasir rushed to her. "It's okay. You're safe." She looked up at him, not with fear, but recognition. "You're not Athari, yet you carry their sorrow." Behind them, another pod cracked open. Then another. The race was awakening, but so was their jailer. "We need to evacuate," Lyra barked. "If the beast breaks free." "No," the woman said, standing tall now. "You must finish. If the resonance is broken now, the rest will die in stasis. Their minds will collapse." Nasir met her eyes. "What do you need?" "A third heart," she said. "One who remembers love." Silence. Then Nomi stepped forward. She looked at Nasir and smiled faintly. "I haven't loved in a long time, but I remember what it felt like before the war burned it out of me." She pressed her hand to the final panel. Her breath caught. A tear fell, and the final lock released. The pods flared with golden light. Hundreds of the imprisoned beings gasped to life, falling to the ground, rising again. And from the core of the chamber, a shaft of light pierced downward, illuminating a spiral staircase, ancient and steep, leading into the dark beneath. The path to Oranis, to the beast, and the final choice. Above them, Varkos moved closer. Below, something ancient stirred. Nasir turned to the reborn woman. "Will you help us stop it?" She nodded. "We were made to protect life, not to serve death. Let us, and we will follow." For the first time in years, Nasir felt it. Not vengeance, not survival. Purpose. Descent into the maw. The stairs went deeper than they should have. Carved from obsidian stone, the steps pulsed faintly beneath Nasir's boots, alive with ancient power. Each breath of air grew colder, thinner, and somehow heavier with every descent. The walls shimmered with etched glyphs, glowing faintly as the newly awakened alien woman, Sarai, passed her hand across them. She led with grace born from ages of silence. Behind her, Nasir followed, his team close. Nomi checked Yasik's vitals as they walked, still monitoring the wound that bled memory more than blood. Lyra watched the rear, one hand on her sidearm, the other twitching from nerves she didn't admit to. Above them, the sounds of battle rumbled faintly. Varkos and his mercs had breached the upper sanctum. Time was running out. How much farther? Nasir asked. Sarai paused, touching a symbol carved into the wall. "We're close. The vault is beneath the Heartstone, but there's a price to open it." Yasik let out a dry breath. "Always a price." Sarai turned, her silver eyes catching the low light. The Eye of Oranis was never meant to be claimed by one. It demands unity, sacrifice. Only those who reject domination can wield it. "So no wonder Varkos wants it," Lyra muttered. "They'll twist it into another weapon. Another leash." The group reached the bottom. The chamber was vast, miles wide. A stone bridge jutted across a bottomless pit. In the center, suspended by gravity anchors older than history, was a crystalline sarcophagus wrapped in chains of light. The vault of Oranis. Nasir stepped forward, heart pounding. He could feel it, a low hum thrumming through his bones, calling out to something buried deep in his grief, his guilt, and his hope. The treasure wasn't gold. It wasn't power in the way warlords understood. It was a key, a final choice. Sarai turned to him. To open it, three must offer part of themselves. Not flesh, but truth. The purest parts of who you are. "I don't know what that is anymore," Nasir said quietly. "You do," she replied. "You just buried it." They began the ritual. Nasir stepped into the inner circle first. The vault responded with a pulse of light. His mind was pulled backward, through war zones, through screams, to the face of his younger brother, laughing over stolen fruit. The last innocent memory. "I wanted to protect him," Nasir whispered, tears hot. "But I ran. I ran because I was scared." The crystal glowed with warmth. Not judgment. Acceptance. Lyra stepped in next. She flinched as the light took hold. Her memories were colder. Betrayals, covert missions, a life lived in shadows. I was trained to lie before I could speak, she said. I never knew what truth was, but I believe in Nasir, and maybe that's enough. Then Sarai entered, the chamber filled with song, not from her voice, but from within her. The echo of 1,000 minds, 1,000 years of pain and longing. We remember kindness. We remember cruelty. We choose the former. The chains cracked. A heartbeat of silence. Then the vault began to open. The air turned violent. From the pit below, something massive began to rise. Black tendrils of smoke, bone, and hate surged upward. The beast, not flesh, not even spirit, something older. A consciousness born of entropy, feeding on despair. Nomi screamed a warning. It's reacting to the vault. Sarai held out her arms. The newly freed of her kind had formed a circle around the chamber's edges, chanting in harmonic resonance. Their energy pushed back against the beast's intrusion, but barely. Nasir ran forward, reaching for the eye. The moment he touched it, time stopped. He stood in a white void. Before him, the eye floated, perfect, glowing with inner stars. Around him appeared illusions. Himself, younger. His brother, Varkos, the beast. Images flickered, alternate futures. A peaceful galaxy. A shattered one. A choice. A voice, neither male nor female, not Sarai's, spoke in his mind. What will you become? Conqueror or healer? His hands trembled. He thought of power, of revenge, of ending Varkos, ending everything. But he saw Yasik, Nomi, Sarai, his family. I don't want power, Nasir said aloud. I want peace, and I'm willing to fight for it. But not like before. Not by burning the galaxy down. The eye responded. It shone with radiant light, blinding, then focused like a star being born. The beast shrieked. Real, inescapable. It lunged for the vault and met a wall of light. Nasir stood at the center, surrounded by Sarai's people. Together, they channeled the eye's power, not as a weapon, but as a memory. They forced the beast to see what it had tried to destroy. Love, unity, redemption. It screamed one last time and vanished. When the light faded, Nasir collapsed. Lyra caught him. Sarai knelt beside him, smiling. It is done. For the first time, the vault was empty, and the galaxy was free to choose again. What remains after light? Silence. The kind that settles after storms, after battles, when there's no more running, no more screaming, no more blood to shed. Nasir sat quietly on the edge of the ruined vault, the fractured bridge beneath him dusted in pale starlight. The eye of Aranis was gone now, absorbed into the will of those who wielded it not for dominion, but for mercy. Above, the night sky of Lazuri Prime had changed. No longer heavy with the oppressive presence of the beast. Now, it stretched wide and clear, moons gleaming softly like distant promises. Behind him, the others were recovering. Yasik slept in a deep, healing rest, wrapped in woven blankets offered by Sarai's people. Lyra stood apart, arms crossed, watching the stars like they might blink away and take the quiet with them. Nomi paced, as she often did, too full of thought to sit still. And Sarai, the last of her kind reborn, knelt among her people, helping the newly awakened reorient to life, to breath, to freedom. For the first time in his life, Nasir didn't feel the crushing weight of guilt. He just felt tired, but it was the good kind. The peace didn't last long. A low hum cut through the stillness, a ship's engine descending. Lyra was the first to draw her weapon. Incoming. One ship. Sleek. Ugly. Nasir stood, shoulders tense. And then the figure stepped from the rising dust cloud. Varkos. His armor was dented, his face scarred, one eye replaced with a flickering implant. Yet his presence was as sharp as ever. He strode toward them without fear, rifle holstered at his side, as though walking into a business meeting instead of the aftermath of a galactic miracle. Nasir met him halfway, stopping only feet apart. "You're too late," Nasir said. "I saw the sky," Varkos replied coolly. Felt the scream. Whatever that thing was, it's gone. It was the beast. And it wasn't a thing. It was a wound. We healed it. Varkos studied him, eyes cold. You threw away power. No, Nasir said. I used it to make sure no one like you could ever use it again. There was a moment of silence. A shift. The wind picked up, carrying faint voices, laughter, relief. Varkos looked past him to Sarai's people. They'll never be safe, not without someone willing to fight for them. They don't need a warlord, Nasir said. They need time, hope, space to rebuild. Varkos tilted his head. You're still the same idealist. That's going to get you killed one day. Nasir smirked. Maybe, but I'll die standing. A pause. Then Varkos reached into his coat and tossed something toward Nasir. Instinct flared. Lyra drew her weapon, but Nasir caught the object mid-air. It was a pendant. His brother's. Found that on a scavenged cruiser. Didn't know it belonged to you until recently, Varkos said. Funny. We've both been running from ghosts. With that, he turned, walking back toward his ship. No parting shot. No ultimatum. Just a fading figure swallowed by dust. Nasir stared down at the pendant, hand trembling slightly. He closed his fingers around it, eyes stinging. Nomi approached quietly. You gonna let him go? For now, Nasir said. He's not the enemy anymore. Not today. They left Lazuri Prime 3 days later. The alien species Sarai belonged to, calling themselves the Ashari, opted to stay. Their people would rebuild their culture amid the ruins of the vault. Sarai, however, chose to travel with the crew, not out of necessity, but faith. A desire to learn the galaxy anew. Nasir's ship, the Lantern, had been repaired with Ashari tech, sleeker, faster, resonant with harmonic energy. It felt like a home again. Yasik recovered steadily, spending most of his time teaching Sarai about human music and bad jokes. Nomi returned to the pilot's seat, her laughter returning in fits and bursts. Lyra stayed quiet, as usual, but the edge in her eyes softened. She trusted them now, even if she didn't say it. As the ship rose through the stars, Nasir stood at the viewing port, watching Lazuri Prime shrink behind them. He felt no triumph, just peace, and for the first time, he allowed himself to believe it might last. One night, Nasir sat alone in the cockpit, the pendant around his neck. He touched it lightly, eyes distant. Sarai stepped in silently. You mourn him still, she said. I always will, he replied. That is good, she said, settling beside him. Grief is proof of love, and love is what gives treasure its meaning. He looked at her. Do you think we made the right choice? She smiled. You free my people. You destroyed a being born of sorrow, and you chose kindness over control. If that is not the right choice, then no right one exists. Nasir nodded slowly. The ship slipped into hyperspace, and the hunt, once a mission of desperation, became a journey of purpose, of healing, of light.